podcasting loves.
Whoa, welcome everyone to The Upsiders. That's right. That's us. Welcome to another action packed episode. I'm one of your hosts, Los, the artist formerly known as Los Stevens, that is, and LOS, your friendly neighborhood one. So,
Yes.
and I'm also joined by, though,
The artist currently known as Bertram.
oh,
Bertram Cobb. Welcome to the show.
and
Your friendly neighborhood Bertram.
yeah. And yeah, if you're new to us, here at the Upsiders, we take a look at things going around in the world. And unlike what you might see on the news, doom and gloom,
Yeah.
we focus on the solutions here.
The world is ending.
What could we do about it? Where could we go? If the world was ending, our episode would be like, well, where are we going?
Yeah.
So,
What's
yeah,
next?
taking that positive spin, you could call it silver lining, but we're not even glass half full. We're just trying to drink. We're just trying to put more water in that glass. You know what I'm saying?
It's not
So,
full yet.
yeah, exactly. Exactly.
Yeah.
So, thanks for joining. Hopefully, you subscribe, pass the word along to your friends, family members, worst enemies. Everyone could
Oh
benefit
my
from listening
gosh.
to what we got here,
Yes.
especially those in today's episode who might not be a
Mm.
tech savvy person, right? I used to
Sure.
work at the Apple store as a genius. Um,
You still are
and
a genius, my man.
no, not really. It was title only, but yeah, I would often come across people who they sit down, show me their phone or computer, and they're like, "Hey, just I'm not tech savvy, so just walk me through what I gotta do. How do I fix this?" And yeah, it just put into practice being able to put high level concepts into like analogies or yeah, just break it down for people. So
Los, can I ask a question?
yeah,
How tech savvy would you how tech savvy do you have to be with an iPhone to be called tech savvy? Like how good do I got to be at this thing in order to be called tech savvy? Because that's a question. Like, would you say I'm tech savvy with this thing? I don't know how it operates, but I can operate it. Does that count?
I think there's varying degree. I think how when from my perspective, how capable are you to solve problems that you may face when something doesn't
Mm,
work, right?
yeah,
So if I don't know, an app freezes or your phone starts shutting down or the camera won't do something or yeah. What are you doing? Are you looking to resolve it on your own? Do you already
mm,
know how to resolve it on your own? Or you're just like, I don't know what the hell's going on. I'm gonna drive to the local
yeah.
shop, you know?
I get you. How often are you? I guess that's the question: is how often are you driving to a repair place to go get your stuff looked at? That probably factors into being able to be serviceable.
Yeah.
Yeah, fair enough.
Yeah. But then but we'll also go and that's what we're covering today, digital literacy, digital inclusion. Um, but how much are you able to do on those devices could weigh
Mm,
into whether you're considered tech savvy. But I think the real term would be digital literate. You don't have to be tech
mm,
savvy because I think that's more of a problem solving power user type role
mm.
that you would have if you're considered tech savvy. Do you know all of the features or most of them and able to use them at a high level? That's more tech savvy, but most of us, we just want to be literate, right? And
Mm.
when we think of that term literacy, right? Hey, it's great. It's very beneficial to know how to read, but you don't have to be, yeah, you don't have to be PhD level. You don't need to win Pulitzers with
Yeah.
they don't award for reading, but you know what I mean.
You don't
Um,
have to know that F. Scott Fitzgerald had his heart broken by Geneva King, and that's what led him to read The Great Gatsby. You just got to be able to read The Great Gatsby and have a basic understanding that this is clearly a story about, trying to get with a rich woman, and how just class divides in romance. I feel like you ain't got to know all the particulars. You just got to be able to to comprehend on a basic level clear understandings. Would you agree?
Correct. So when it
Yeah.
comes to digital literacy, it's very much along those same lines, but from a technology perspective. Are
Mm.
you able to operate, around the internet? Do you
Yeah.
know how to create a document? Uh, Things like that. So,
Well, Los, I can give you a definition from
oh, please,
digitalinclusion.org if you'd like.
why not?
Uh, Digital literacy is the ability to use information and communication technologies to find, evaluate, create, and communicate information requiring both cognitive and technical skills. A person with digital literacy skills, I'll read these off. You tell me if you got them, okay, Los?
Cool.
Possesses the variety of skills, technical and cognitive, required to find, understand, evaluate, create, and communicate digital information in a wide variety of formats. Do you have that?
Yeah, that's pretty loaded, but yeah, I think so. Yeah.
Yes, and that's a very loaded statement there.
Yeah.
Is able to use diverse technologies appropriately and effectively to retrieve information, interpret results, and judge the quality of that information.
Mhm. Yeah.
Now that's going to get hard. Google, man. If you're going to Google for all your places, you're screwed, right?
Not necessarily, but because I
Mm,
think that's where digital literacy comes in. It's like, do you know how to use Google effectively? And I think a lot of that's weighing
that's a good point.
into AI now, right? With
Yeah.
when you're looking at prompts on how you're looking at um, the model, generating
Hmm.
what you want it to create.
Yeah.
It's all about how you're communicating to the machine. So,
Sure. Understands the relationship between technology, lifelong learning, personal privacy, and stewardship of
mhm,
information. That's a good
mhm.
one. You got that?
Yeah, yeah, yeah,
Yeah, personal privacy. That's a big one too. That's something you have
yeah,
to continuously keep learning about, and
yep.
VPNs and all that stuff.
Oh yeah.
Uses these skills. Oh, and by the way, go back to listen to us in our Mad Mad World episode where we talked about crypto and we talked about blockchain and NFTs and all that
Oh
stuff.
yeah.
That
Yeah.
might be a
Oh,
helpful
by
if
the
you're.
way,
Yeah.
everyone, yeah, we used to have a podcast called Man Mad World, in which we did effectively the opposite from what we're
Yeah.
doing now. We talked about the issues, but in depth, and we did try and see some like resolutions or, paths forward, but we were more focused on knowing the ins and outs of the issues. But it was a great podcast. It's still out there. Listen to it.
Maybe I could put it in the show notes.
Yeah.
Uses these skills and the appropriate technology to communicate and collaborate with peers, colleagues, family, and on occasion, the general public.
Yeah,
That's
absolutely.
scary. And then the last one, use these skills to actively participate in civic society and contribute to a vibrant, informed, and engaged community. That is the definition of digital literacy, Los.
Yeah. One could argue we're doing that right now, right?
Yeah, man, come on.
Look at us.
And if
Look
you're
at
listening to
us.
this, you get to check that box off
Shh.
too, baby.
Come on now.
We're proud of
How'd
you.
you
You're doing a
how'd you
great
even
job.
find us?
Yeah, dang.
We're nothing. We're nobody. So you're very digital literate if you
Man.
found us.
And if you can send us to all your friends and family and like you said, your enemies, man, you get an A+.
We're nobodies. You found us.
Yeah, man. Dang.
Congratulations.
Yeah, you need to send some emails or something.
Okay.
How you found us is
So
outstanding.
on that topic, and I just told Bertram about this right before we went on air here, where I don't know if you've worked with them. Maybe you have, because you're in education. But Gen Z, what's your impression of
Mm.
Gen Z?
Man, I'm Gen Z are teachers and stuff like that now.
Oh, that's
They're
true.
yeah, they're leading the charge. I've been working with some people who I've the people that I work with were born after 9/11.
Wow. Yeah,
That's
they say
that's
I
crazy, man.
mean, let's see, the oldest Gen Zer right now is what, 28 years old? Yeah,
Yeah,
1997. Yeah, so
they don't know anything.
they're out there in
They
full
don't know
force.
anything.
Yeah, but
I'm
speaking
just
of
kidding.
that, I stumbled across a couple materials, one of which reads from Thread. Um, it's a
Mm,
website. Are Gen Z less savvy than previous generations? The byline goes, despite being the first quote unquote digitally native generation, studies suggest, which I've shared with Bertram and he'll share with you, Gen Z are struggling with tech literacy. So
hmm
goes on to say young people are synonymous with technology. They know how to use uh, TikTok and apps and social media and all of this, but like the basics, right? Do they know how to use Excel, Word? Do they know how to manage their email inbox? Uh, if they're going into some creative spaces, do they even know like Photoshop? Um,
That's
I
crazy.
I don't have it with me, but I've also seen things where Gen Z focuses with like phone skills, right? Because they grew up with mobile phones, but they don't know how to business phones that you dial and booking those calls and just like all of that seems
Los,
foreign to a good segment.
I grew up
Um,
with a phone plugged into a wall, and I grew up with no internet. Los, there's that was, and man, so we were there for all of it, you know.
yeah, yeah. So yeah, I know. God bless the 90s. I don't want to go on a tangent because
Yeah,
I feel like that was like it was like the Goldilocks zone of just like eras.
just man, yeah.
Yeah. Um, but anyway.
Remember walking into a McDonald's in the '90s or like
Oh
a
yeah.
Pizza Hut? Oh
Oh,
wow,
Pizza Huts were great.
jeez,
McDonald's, oh
man.
my goodness.
Y'all
Anyway,
you should have stayed in the '90s. You should have never left the '90s, McDonald's. You could have skipped all that I'm loving it crap. Just you know, you need to
uh,
find your inner Ronald McDonald again.
so yeah, despite growing up with things like the iPhone, other other pieces of information or devices and applications have gone over their heads. And I read something else from, let's see, it was one of those newsletters on LinkedIn, but this person works in with ed tech. His name's Matteo Pinot, and his article is titled Gen Z is not, all caps, tech savvy. But he goes on to explain that a lot of this sort of divide or low digital literacy amongst Gen Z is because a lot of them were consumers of this
Mm,
type of information and technology and not creators. And
right,
goes on
that's
to,
exactly what I was thinking. Yeah,
yeah, goes on to compare, your regular person who doesn't, yeah, consumer versus someone who's a Twitch streamer. Uh, Knowing what's involved in terms of streaming, right? You have to know a lot about connections and editing software and lighting and all, you know, YouTube and analytics and just all of those types of things where when you go through the steps of having to build or create something, you're more prone to learn things along the way and have a better grasp on how to use those tools rather than if you're just using it for social media or communicating with people or just watching videos. How much are you really taking in there?
Los, my students, my high schoolers are Gen Z, right?
Yeah. Yeah, I think so. Yeah.
Because I apparently insulted them one time and said they were Gen Alpha. They were like, "We're not Gen Alpha, we're Gen Z." I was like, "I don't know, man. I thought y'all were Gen Alpha." They may be right on the cusp.
Yeah, they
You know
think
what? I'll say this because I was gonna hate on them and be like, "Oh, they don't know how to do this, do that." But I taught an audio visual class to them last year, and their final was to make a movie. And some of the kids who ran it were sophomores in high school. I first got into film my junior year of high school, and I made my first movie a year older than them. And I I gave him 2 weeks to make a film, and I thought I was gonna have to run the whole thing. And I'll be
mm,
honest, I barely had to lift a finger. I had to show him a few things about how to run audio properly and how to run a film set and stuff. But I watched the movie and I was shocked how good it was.
yeah,
And I don't want this to become a they just don't know how to use it because I was like, dang man, they I'm better than they are today, right? Like
sure.
I could make a movie that would blow theirs out the water, but their movie at you know sophomores in high school was way better than mine as a junior in high school. So I don't know. I feel like that says something, right? I think they're more talented than we would have been.
Yeah, but well, except for me. But no, but no, I think you're getting at the point though. I think exposure at this age is a very key. When you're still in grade school or high school or yeah, that type of environment, that's when you need to be learning. I think a lot of these observations and studies have found once they hit higher education or moreover the workforce and they lack those skills, that's where there's a divide and a level of difficulty that we didn't foresee them having because of
Yeah.
them growing up with that.
And it is interesting too, because I try and give my students a lot of digital literacy, like, digital differentiation, meaning,
Mm,
right, like you don't have to just turn in a an essay for a final project. And the kids who are able to do Canva or do podcasts or do presentations, man, they're amazing. The ones who really know how to do that, and the ones who have never even made a Google slide before, or just most of them are not savvy with even Google slide, and they don't even
yeah,
understand how to crop pictures
yeah,
properly. It's and they're really bad. And so I guess that says something too, right? Because I would expect them to be much further along. If I gave you if I said make a TikTok for your final project, I think they would stink low. So
yeah.
many of them would, and that's shocking to me.
Yeah, it's almost yeah, I think that raises a good point too about this. It's funny because this is kind of how Mad World started. Our first ever episode, we talked about influencers. But
Yes. Wow. Good memory.
yeah, and I was railing against the fact that people look up to influencers, which is a sentiment I still hold to a degree, but how the emergence of kids wanting to become content creators when they grow up, right? That's a thing now.
Yeah.
It's their content creators are almost like the new movie stars, right? They're
Yeah.
more they
Absolutely.
know I Show Speed or some of these other streamers like
That
these
dude's a
people
wrestler.
these guys are like these guys and girls, they're like mega stars. Like I wouldn't be able to like recognize them if I saw them at the supermarket. But the point is, they wouldn't even be able to get in the supermarket because they'd be flooded by all of these people who know them.
Didn't we
They,
say that in that episode or in a future episode? We said everyone's famous and no one's famous at the same
yeah,
time.
at the
I
same
think we
time.
said
Yeah,
that.
yeah, that's true. Yeah, because you have these people with immense followings, like 50, 100 million followers on social media. And it's like, that's a reach Tom Cruise, Brad Pitt, George Clooney never had, but still to this day, who are considered like the A-list celebrities, right? Um,
Yeah.
any given person, they'll be like, oh, that's that person versus one of those streamers, right? So yeah, it's opened that up. But my point is that we instead of wanting to be content creators, all of us have the tools to become content creators. So that's kind of just like the paradox, right? And I think I've seen some materials here which would will share and talking about the Gen Z paradox, right?
Yeah.
They've grown up with technology, but they don't know enough about using technology at a
Wow.
productive level.
Are you ready to fix this then?
Yeah, let's so who's trying to help people out with not just Gen Z, but just everyone, those of us in our 30s, 40s, 50s, and
Okay.
beyond? Who's trying to help us out?
So I think we would then have to shift this conversation from digital literacy then to digital inclusion.
Mm,
Same site, digitalinclusion.org, defines digital inclusion. It refers to the activities necessary to ensure that all individuals and communities, including the most disadvantaged, have access to and use of information and communication technologies. This includes five elements: affordable, robust broadband internet service. Internet enabled devices that meet the needs of the user, access to digital literacy training, which I imagine that's what you want to talk about, quality technical support,
mm,
and then applications and online content designed to enable and encourage self sufficiency, participation, and collaboration. That also sounds like something that you would be interested in. Digital inclusion must evolve as technology advances. And it's advanced so many times in such a short time, right?
yeah.
Digital inclusion requires intentional strategies and investments to reduce and eliminate historical, institutional and
Mm,
structural barriers to access and use technology. And I guess when we talk about that, Los, I approached this topic differently than you did, where you were talking about in terms of age, and I was thinking in terms of class, right? Is
mm,
that I live in an impoverished community. There's a lot of people that lack access to all of these things. We did a previous episode about repair cafes, right? Where
yeah,
how do we build these places in the community where you could go to even get your technology fixed, and now we're talking about where are the places that you can go to get this hands-on training, right? And so that seems to be, for me, when we talk about digital inclusion, that was something that I focused on. But it is interesting to consider your aspect too, is that that's a problem I didn't even consider, that these students are growing up with this technology, no clue how to use it, right?
yeah. Yeah, absolutely. And it's, I guess, coming again from a creator standpoint in this age of AI, right? It's very exciting, frightening for some, exciting for others, but overall it's just a change that we haven't seen in a long time, this shift, right? Because
Yeah.
this whether you consider it intelligence, but it's more just a tech technological capability that exists that wasn't around just a few years ago, that makes these possibilities just endless. All these different applications that we'll see in the next few years, it's just going to be mind-blowing. But i get I get to that by saying that it's the participants, right? When you're looking at who's building these applications, who's
Mm,
running these services, it's still the same guard, right? It's like
yeah.
high performance students from like Southeast Asia, or those who go to, prep schools or were cool enough to go to Stanford and UC Berkeley and MIT. Like, it's still the same people who started these previous social media generations, .com bubble. Like, it's the same type of people, right?
Yeah.
It's not inclusive.
Mm.
So a lot of that just goes into, hey, do I have exposure to these tools and can I build these skills? And so it's good to know that there's organizations out there trying to do something about it.
Yeah, absolutely. And I could highlight a few of these organizations too. There's a really interesting, like, I guess it's a pamphlet from. Let me go all the way back up to the top again. Jesus, the NDIA, the National Digital Inclusion Alliance, and this was an interesting piece of information I found. It's a coalition guidebook about specifically how do you build a coalition to work together for digital inclusion. You and I have talked so many times on this podcast about how important it is for the community to come together, to work together to solve some of these issues,
Mm.
and that the cure is in each other. And so it's similar to Repair Cafe. So what's interesting is this is a kind of how-to that I'll put in the show notes about how do you kind of build these coalitions in your community to sort of address digital inclusion and making sure that there's training resources for all these people. And these are some of the organization types that are common coalition members in digital inclusion. Obviously, can you imagine what number one is?
Who, in terms of what? Sorry.
Just in your community, who tends to be one of the top organizations, places that you can go that teaches hands-on
Oh,
technology skills, digital inclusion?
oh, the library.
Of the library. Very good. Number
Yeah.
one, right? That's I learned a lot. In
Yeah.
fact, I think my first computer
Yeah.
I used was at the library. Was that yours too?
Same. I could, if we want to look at the seed in how I became tech savvy, I mean, I had a dad who worked in technology, but like taking us to the library so we could go
Yeah.
on those computers that had internet was like,
Yes.
I'll never forget. I was in elementary school. And
Well,
then maybe a year or two later, we got our first like internet connected computer. Crazy.
oh
Crazy. That
man.
was it. That was it. That was the
Yeah.
begin. That was the genesis of Los right there. It was day seven. Well, no, day six, I guess. The digital gods created that and took a
Wow.
rest on the next day.
I think my local Indianapolis Public Library, they have freeancestry.com. If you go and log into theirs, where you could do your whole family history at the library, which I thought is a really cool way to get you in the door to learn how to
Uh,
use some of those resources. So yes, so a library is one of the top common coalition members in a community to build these digital inclusion and digital literacy. Technology companies are jumping in on them. Digital inclusion organizations, which I'll give you some, but they're hard to find sometimes, right? These are some of the ones that are trying to get started. Nonprofit organizations, neighborhood associations,
mm,
banks. In fact, I think in the state of Indiana, banks have so much money that they can donate to schools for some of these things, and it's all tax deductible. So our local bank, First Merchants Bank, they purchased for some of our students financial literacy software, which was
mm,
really cool. So shout outs to First Merchants Bank. They do some cool stuff with our community. Um, Housing organizations, civil rights organizations, higher ed, K through 12 education. Obviously, I work from there. I can tell you we're pushing digital literacy at schools, health organizations, media and arts organizations. That's something that our local wrestling company is trying to do in terms of teaching kids hands on media skills. Workforce development organizations, faith based organizations, ISPs, like internet service
Shout outs to
providers.
God. I'm kidding.
Yeah, shout out to God. Yeah. I just
Uh,
want never local
eh,
and government institutions, foundations, community anchor institutions, minority serving institutions, entrepreneurs, and then they just have other down at the bottom. So that's a list of some of the places that you can get involved with at your local organizations trying to solve this in the communities.
nice.
Yeah, man. What do you make of all that, Lowe's?
No, I think it's the more I think this is great. I think we just need visibility, right? I think people need to
Mm,
know that there's nothing to be ashamed of if you don't know how to use these tools, right? There's
yeah,
more of you than you think. And it's an increasing number because technology moves so fast. Uh,
yeah,
I was I was watching this YouTuber talking about how we should be diversifying our apps every so often, and I'm like, someone like me, okay, I'm okay with doing that. I love testing stuff, but like most of us, we feel comfortable using something and we just use it, forever.
yeah.
But like technology moves so fast, so you could only keep up.
Mm.
So yeah, it's okay. We just need visibility, but I'm glad to see that there's opportunities out there.
Yeah, one of the sites that I can give you, one of these organizations is called EveryoneOn.org. Did you get to check them out, Los?
Yeah, yeah.
Their holistic approach to digital inclusion connects under-resourced communities to affordable internet and computers. They train individuals and organizations on digital skills and resources and advance fair and just policies. So I have them in the show notes as well if you want to check them out. They value adaptability, collaboration, empathy, equity, and innovation. Initially spurred by a challenge from the FCC in 2012 to help connect all people in the U.S., they began as a public awareness campaign and a digital inclusion pilot called Connect to Compete, also known as C2C. It was their flagship program for K through 12 students that provided affordable internet service to qualifying families. And then I also have in the show notes one of their stories, like one of their pilots, specifically in Harlem. And what they did was they noticed an issue, technology challenge in high school students who were living in New York City's housing authority, the NYCHA,
Hmm.
and a lot of their students lacked computers at home. So what they did was they built a coalition. It was Double Verify, Harlem Cultural Festival Foundation, and Everyone On. So these three different organizations partnered to create a digital access day. It was designed to provide 75 high school students living in New York City Housing Authority in Harlem with the technology and knowledge they and their families needed at home to stay safely connected, complete homework assignments, communicate with their schools, pay bills, access healthcare. 75 high school students living there received Mac laptops and digital skills training.
Wow. That's
That's
great.
pretty cool. And there's multiple. If you go to the website, that was just one of the stories. They have a few other pilots that they ran in different cities, so you can read about them as well. I put those in the show notes. But I think for me, that's just a really good example of it takes more than just effort of one person or one organization. It takes people working together to solve these digital literacy issues.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I do have in the show notes as well. There is the NDIA, the National Digital Inclusion Alliance. They have an honor roll of low cost internet
Ooh.
plans because in our research, one of the issues was um, the end of the Affordable Connectivity Program (ACP). So they wanted to look at who offers really low cost internet to kind of help digital equity. How are we making sure that everyone has at least access to internet and
Mm.
some of these things? And so they put on here what the monthly service costs were and their scores. They gave each person a gig score. I'm trying to look, what does gig stand for? I don't know, but they essentially was good, better, best, wanting, stuff like that. Comcast Xfinity had really amazing. They take SNAP, Medicaid, federal public housing assistance, veterans pension, survivors benefit. Wow, they're so you would be eligible for this. It's $30 a month.
Wow.
So apparently Comcast Xfinity offers really nice low internet. What else was on here? Digital C. I don't know what Digital C is. You have to look at that. Gigabit Now offers a really good deal. One of these is $18 a month, though.
Wow.
Yeah, Human IT is another organization that showed up on here. They have like a good gold membership for $15 a month. You can get internet with them, and they're another really good organization, I think, that are trying to make sure that everyone at least has fair access to technology and knowing how to use it. So I put that in the show notes too. Check that out if you're if you know someone who's struggling to get access to these things. That might be something that helps people out. I know as a teacher, happens to us all the time, right? Where we have students who are behind on classes and they don't have access, they don't have a computer at home, they don't have internet. So these are some options to help satisfy that requirement and have digital equity.
Please, please. Technology is moving so quickly, so we need to get this in the hands of so many people.
Yeah.
Um, we should treat internet as any other utility at this point.
Yes.
Yeah.
I have that in here too. I think somewhere was how essential, you know, we have to have inclusion because you have it's what you say, it's a human right at this point, right?
Yeah, at this
Um,
point, yeah.
yeah. So this is a company called this is the Educational Equality Institute. Digital literacy, building essential skills for the modern world. Um, 92% of jobs now require digital literacy. 33% of workers lack fundamental digital skills. 23% of higher wages for workers can happen with digital proficiency. So this is a program where they have essentially four program pillars for how do they build digital literacy, right?
Mm.
Is number one is foundational skills development. What they do is they come in, they teach computer essentials, internet navigation, online communication fundamentals, taught through practical and real world exercises. They teach digital safety and security, practical application training, and workforce readiness. And I think this was one of the sites. If you got, I have this in the here as well. So go ahead and check that out in the show notes. I think multiple organizations, Los, teach and offer free courses on digital literacy, security, how to navigate the internet, and things like that. So as the listeners go through the show notes, they're going to find multiple examples of organizations partnering to do this. As someone who's an instructional designer, right, it's something that we all consider is how do we build digital literacy, especially because I got a lot of classes that are online now, so that's very important to navigate.
Yes, please. This is great.
Yeah, man.
Get,
Human IT gives away computers. Specifically, uh, they recycle e-waste.
oh, good.
Yeah, it says right here on their website, that's who we were talking about. 523,000 tech items have been distributed. 110,000 households have been assisted with internet. 11.5 thousand digital literacy learners. 30,000 tech support tickets resolved. Man, those are I put in. They were all for me, I bet. If I'm leading my company in tech support tickets, Lowe's, because I find a lot of the bugs. 15.1 million pounds of e-waste diverted. So they're driving digital equity and sustainability by collecting unwanted used tech and redirecting them back to people in need, and making sure that there's one-on-one support for digital navigation. So that's human IT too. So there's a lot of people involved in this, man.
It's a big operation, a big
Yeah.
initiative. And so, yeah, man, we just need to increase this visibility, like I said. Yeah, it's like, but I love what they're doing. It's great, because in my day job I do work with nonprofit organizations, and I'm just astounded of how many people care about so many different things, right? So yeah, just seeing organizations dedicated to getting technology in the hands, or providing resources for access, and yeah, just having goals of wanting to achieve full literacy by a certain date. That's what
Mm.
makes, that's what renews your faith in humanity, as they would say.
Yeah. And one of the last resources I have, Los, is the state of digital inclusion in the states. It says it was 2025, but I assume, like, I don't know if this is pre-Trump or post-Trump, so
Mm,
these numbers could be way off because I know how much stuff's been getting cut. Um, and so the NDIA put together, what is digital literacy and access to digital information? What does that look like right now on a state basis? And so they have some goals. For example, goal one, that is the state dedicates human or financial resources to digital inclusion, which is pretty
mm,
important. Like how does the state get involved?
mm,
39 out of 50 states dedicate human or financial resources to digital inclusion.
wow.
39 states have at least one dedicated staff person whose primary role is to advance digital inclusion initiatives. That's,
Who are these holdouts? Who are these 11 holdouts?
yeah. We got to find out who are the 11 who don't have anybody to do it.
Come on
Um,
now.
3 states have dedicated state funding to support local or state digital inclusion initiatives.
Hmm.
Yeah, that's not as great. 9 states contribute to the digital equity ecosystem and have established a mechanism for ongoing public feedback. Um, 4 states have a public body focused solely on digital inclusion that operates in the public eye, like a task force, a commission, a working group, an action team, a state led coalition. 36 states connect residents with digital skills resources for education and training opportunities. Man, being a high school teacher, I see these in Indiana constantly. There's a lot of different organizations that work with high schoolers in the state of Indiana, trying to give kids digital resource skills, education, training opportunities, career advancement, especially when it comes to transitioning young people into careers. That's really important. Um, 14 states create and contribute to pathways for device access or low cost device ownership. Illinois, through the Connect Illinois Computer Equity Network, the Illinois Office of Brand Board collaborated with device refurbishers, counties, and community partners to accept and refurbish device donations for redistributing to qualifying households in need of a computer. As of January 2023, over 18,000 refurbished computers have been distributed to eligible households in nearly every county in Illinois. Hey, man, how you feel about that?
Oh, I feel wonderful.
You want to move to Illinois?
No, no, that's okay.
35 states support.
Hey, hold on. With that said, I haven't given Chicago a chance, but so
Have you been?
never been,
Man, what's
never
wrong with
been.
you?
I had
Jesus.
opportunities, and yeah, it just didn't happen.
I've been to the big three. I've been to all three of them.
Yeah,
I've lived in two of them.
you've lived in two of them.
I go to New York too. Um, the Minnesota State Legislature recently repealed barriers to local governments seeking to provide broadband services to residents. The new law removes requirements for municipalities to obtain supermajority approval via a local referendum to purchase or construct networks. The law also allows municipalities to provide broadband service in areas where other providers offer comparable service, which will promote market competition. Right on, man. Minnesota also annually collects digital inclusion data for all K through 12 districts and charter schools in the state.
Wow.
So yeah, man, there's a wealth of resources. We got all sorts of stuff over here for you. Do you have any other resources for us, Lowe's?
Um, Not resources, but yeah, I'll provide those articles telling you about
Yeah.
some of these stats here, studies. But yeah, in all, like I was saying earlier, right? It's great to have this awareness, right? That there's more people than you think who aren't included in this discourse, this revolution that is technology. And but the highlight is that there's people trying to do something about it. And
Yeah,
so if you're one of those, or hey, if you're, I don't want to put myself in this, but if you find yourself, consider yourself tech savvy, hey, share the wealth,
yeah,
spread the word, help someone out, you know, start volunteering at libraries or other institutions that offer
yeah.
assistance to people.
And that's probably, if I can give you guys an action item, that might be number one, right? Is go down to your local library, preferably one of the smaller ones and not the main, like Indianapolis Public Library. Our main branch doesn't need me. They are rocking it. They got like 9 floors, brother. Um, but the East Washington branch, right down the street, where it's the small, like one of the smallest branches, if not the smallest one, is they need a lot of support, Los, and my kids go there all the time. And I'm always pushing, like, how do I get a class, where my students can kind of teach some digital literacy to the community. I know we have Indie Reads. Indie Reads is a really good local place where they work with adults, and they try and teach like literacy. I don't know if they do digital literacy too, but having those classes to teach older folks how to use some of these things, I think, is really key. So, man, if you know something, please volunteer.
Please, please, please. Well,
Everybody should volunteer at least somewhere.
yeah, exactly. Well, yeah, it's great to see. This was a great episode. Hopefully all you listening took something away from this and gave you a new perspective on how to look at um not this issue, but this opportunity of increasing digital literacy and inclusion across the board here. But Bertram, any final words, final thoughts?
I already said everything I need to
Okay,
say. Everybody
cool.
should volunteer somewhere. Get involved. Teach somebody something.
Fight the good fight.
You are a genius in your own way. Like nurture it in others.
Hmm. You don't need a blue apple shirt to prove it.
Oh, come on.
All right. With
Yeah.
that said, thank you everyone for listening. On behalf of Bertram, I am Los. I hope we'll see you not just on the other side, but the upside. See you
Yes.
soon. Bye bye.